Alright, you guys, so I hope you can hear me. I'm just going to very quietly talk, standing back here. I'm now in St. Peter's, and it is incredibly quiet. Never in my life have I seen so few people. Maybe when I studied here in college in the 90s. It's 2 o'clock on a Saturday, and normally this would be incredibly busy. So first things first, this is the main door that they open mostly just for celebrations. And in front is this slab of marble or granite, and this is porphyry, a purple porphyry, which was something preferred by the Roman emperors. So the Roman emperors loved this color so much that in fact they don't really have anywhere anymore. But this slab is special because this is what's left over from the original basilica built by Constantine. And in fact, they believe that this is exactly where Constantine was crowned Holy Roman Emperor by the Pope on Christmas of the year 800. So that's a very special thing to walk over. And then if we go down the middle of the section here, they have plaques in the floor at differing intervals that mark the length of other churches. So it's their way to say, ha ha, we're bigger than all the other churches. But before we go and look at that, I'm going to take you over to this beautiful work, the Pieta. I can't believe how close I'm able to get. This is incredible. So I'm going to take you over. Oh, this is the holy door, by the way. So this door is open during the Jubilee. And in fact, there was a special Jubilee that Pope Francis had, what was it, last year, the year before. So it's bricked up, and then they'll open it again. It's on the every 25-year mark. So 2025 would be the next one. And then there was the extraordinary one that Pope Francis decided to do. And then over here we have, in magnificent closeness that I haven't seen in a million years, we have the Pieta. So this is a magnificent work by Michelangelo. He did it in his very early 20s. It was the very, very first piece that he ever did for a large audience. And when he was completed with it, it was so good that nobody believed that a young man in his 20s could have finished it. If you look across the chest here, there's a strap. And when he finished, he was so upset with people thinking it was a different artist that he engraved his name across the band, and it says, Michelangelo Buonarroti did this. So this is one of the great pieces of art of the world. I'm going to scoot over and let other people have my spot. And what's magnificent about it is that the perfection and the serenity and the beauty of the whole thing, but also there's a lot of questions about it. Let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, I can. So if you look at the face of Mary, Mary looks like she's 16. She looks like a young woman. Her son in her arms is in his 30s. So how can that be? And that is part of the mystery of this, is what exactly is the meaning? Is it that she is looking at her dead son and she's remembering what it's like to be young? Or perhaps she's incorruptible because she gave birth to this person? Or it could be that she's holding her infant son in her arms and she's projecting his fate on him. So different ways you can interpret it. And that's why people love Michelangelo, because Michelangelo does this sort of dual interpretation. There's never a clear interpretation of his work, and that's what makes him, in my opinion, the first modern artist. It's really modern art. This is behind bulletproof glass, as you can see, and typically even on a day like this you couldn't get very close, but they put it behind glass because there was a man who, I think it was in the 70s, jumped up onto the Pieta with a hammer and chipped off Mary's nose and broke the arm and yelled, "This is not Christ, I am Christ." And so he thought he was basically Christ. So anyway, crazy man damaged it, and because of that they have to put it behind bulletproof glass. So this is early 1500s by Michelangelo, and one of the first great works of art. The David will come after this. He'll get the commission of the David because this is such an absolutely wonderful piece of art. So look at the folds in the fabric. It's just incredible. It's sort of doing sculptural backflips. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom out here. This is so shocking to be so close. I'm sincerely considering staying an extra day because this is so crazy to be in this place. Again, there's those letters up there. Those letters are the same height as me. So if that gives you a sense of scale. Over here we have Queen Christina of Sweden, who I talked about in the Patreon talk last night. Queen Christina of Sweden was, she's basically like a hero for the Catholic Church because she abdicated the throne of Sweden to become a Catholic because they were Lutheran, of course. And this is, I believe, the 1600s, if I'm not mistaken. And she came here to Rome and was received by the Pope. And the Pope was sort of obliged to take her in and pay for her lifestyle for the rest of her life. Now, the backstory, if you want the backstory, is that she apparently did not prefer the company of men. She preferred the company of women and therefore did not want to get married. And what is a woman to do during that time frame who does not want to get married? So she had to. She was the queen. So instead, she couldn't become a nun, for example. So instead, she became a hero of the Catholic Church. Incredibly smart woman. And she lived here and lived in the Villa Farnesina, had beautiful parties, all on the Pope's dime. So she's one of my heroes. Very clever. As my son Nico says, big brain, big brain. All right. So we're going to keep walking here. This is the altar with the tomb of John Paul II. Typically, up to now, this has been walled off with curtains and very difficult to get to. I've seen Pope John Paul II several times in the audiences, and his death was one of the most incredible experiences. Just the fanfare and the grief and the crowds. I've never seen anything like that. I remember that very well. So you can see beautiful marbles on the floor, and again, most of these are, well, not most, but some of them are recycled from earlier Roman buildings. And then if you look up, look at all of the beautiful paintings. Look at the frescoes. Let's go and zoom in there. These frescoes are lovely, and they're everywhere. Some of them are by famous artists, some by Raphael, but they're not frescoes. They are mosaics. They replaced all the paintings in this church with mosaic because it became obvious after a while that you can't maintain paintings particularly well. So they decided instead to turn them into beautiful, exact replicas of mosaics. Let's see if we can see over here any of the stones that mark. So this map, this is the Basilica of Estergrom. I don't even know where that is. And this is the Basilica of, the Cathedral of Sydney. You see? So they're trying to match. They're trying to give you an idea of how big this church is in comparison. The Basilica of Brazil. You see? So over here is another altar with a pope. This should be John the 23rd. I don't know if he's still there, but he's been there for 1,000,000 years, really, so it must be. Yes, and it is actually behind that glass there. I'm not going to get too close because that's not cool, but that is the body of Pope John the 23rd, the happy pope, the one who did the Vatican II reforms that let women wear pants, for example. So I like him. He's a good man. This statue of Peter is a very well-known statue because the tradition says that you should come and rub his foot. Now, of course, during coronavirus, they have decided to rope that off, which was probably a good idea. Okay, so now we're going to walk around a little bit in the center. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a little snuffy here. Yeah, the masks are kind of, ugh. So, Never seen it so empty. So this is the cathedra. Cathedra is where the word cathedral comes from. And the cathedra is simply the seat. So if you see that back there, that is the seat. And if you have a seat like that, you can call something a cathedral. So the difference between a cathedral and a basilica is simply a rectangular building with columns, which this is actually. So if you look, it's a rectangular building, and it's got columns, and it comes from the original Roman building basilica, which was a law court. That's where that building form comes from. But then you put a chair in it for a bishop, and it's a cathedral. This, as I said, is not actually the official cathedral of the Pope. His is at San Giovanni in Laterano, which, I don't know, maybe I'll stop by. We'll see how the day goes. And then here we have the baldacchino. This is a bronze canopy that was designed by John Lorenzo Bernini in the 1600s. And it was made, most unfortunately, by using somewhat using the bronzes that adorned the facade of the Pantheon. So ancient Roman bronzes were melted down for this piece of art, which I'm still pissed about that. But it is beautiful, but again, this is another vanity piece, because if we get close, we can see down here that there is another logo right there. Do you see that logo? That logo has bumblebees. Those bumblebees were the symbols of the Barberini family. And then if you look up on the columns, we have a motif with bumblebees and leaves. Do you see the bumblebees and the little babies? So basically what they're trying to do is reinforce over and over again, we paid for this. You see the bumblebees again in the canopy. Do you see the bumblebees up there? So again and again, let's reinforce that the Barberini paid for this. So that's what we've got there. It's all about the advertising. It's all about the making sure that people see who paid for what. So the baldacchino is beautiful, but does make me feel a little bit sad, because this should have been ancient Roman bronzes from the time of Hadrian, which is 130 AD, more or less. And they should have been a giant eagle, and that's in the triangle part of the Pantheon. And it existed until the 1600s, when this was designed and they needed the bronze. They repurposed it. So kind of an unfortunate one. There's a question, was the Medici family an apple? The Medici family was little gold balls, and those gold balls either symbolized money or pills, Medici medicine, or more likely oranges. That was another idea. So one of those things. We're not 100% sure, but those are all proposed by art historians. And we will maybe see a Medici crest around here. I will keep an eye out, because this church is filled with the crests of the popes, the symbols. You can actually buy a card in the gift shop that has all of the family shields. So as you walk around, you can look and you can interpret the art for yourself. Okay, so one last look at this. And then under here, this is the entrance to the crypt, which I haven't been into the crypt, I think, since John Paul II died, actually. Okay, oh, we can't get over to my favorite tomb, it looks like. This tomb over here, I think, is the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. So if you look, you can see there's the Pope, and there's this marble swath, and underneath is a skeleton coming out. And if you see right here, you see he's holding an hourglass. So the skeleton coming out from underneath the Pope, letting everybody know time is the greatest asset. And if I've learned anything in the past 2 years, it's that our greatest currency is not money. Our greatest currency is time. And how do we spend our time? So thank you for being with me and spending your time with me, because you are expending your most precious asset to be with me. So I appreciate that. So I'll take another lap here. We're most of the way through looking at the church. I could go into the treasury, but I don't think I will. There's the Confessionals. So if you are a Catholic and you want to come to confession, I definitely don't suggest you come here. I've had more tour members than you know who were recovering Catholics, former Catholics, who want to re-engage with their religion here, and it never goes well. So But this is how you do it. If you don't understand if you're not Catholic, what you do is you come and the priest sits in the center, and then you come and you kneel on the side, and you tell him about all the things you're sorry for. And then they give you an assignment, like to say 10 Hail Marys or something like that. So, more crests of popes, These are also interesting to see. So if you look up there, do you see the papal tiara? That is the crown that the Pope used to wear. Somebody's asking, where is John Paul located now? He is in the altar that I walked by earlier. Okay, so this is one of the great art pieces here in all of St. Peter's that I want to show you. Normally it's completely crowded. And I think we've also got a pope. Yep, we got a pope. That is an actual pope. I could comment on the Catholic obsession with morbid things, but I won't do that right now. But as I scroll up, you can see that this is Resurrection, and this is by Raphael. So Raphael Essancio was from Le Marche. He was from Urbino, and he's one of the greatest artists in the Renaissance period. He was also known for being extremely beautiful and had lots of girlfriends, and there's a lot of debate about why he died in his 30s, but some people suggest that it was from having too many girlfriends. But he was a great loss once he died, because he was really the great tenderness of the Renaissance. He adapted his style once he got to know Michelangelo. You can see how colorful all the people are. Earlier in his career, he was more delicate, but there's a sweetness and a tenderness to the way he paints that Michelangelo could never have. And so he's considered to be, for a lot of people, the favorite of all of the great Renaissance artists. So Raphael and Michelangelo, very much kind of not enemies, but rivals for sure. They definitely didn't understand each other, but unfortunately his life was cut very short. I believe he was 37 when he died, and he's now buried in the Pantheon. This is not the painting, though, as I said. This is a replica, and it's an incredible replica done entirely of tiles. So if I go in to the reflection, you can see, look at that. It's so incredibly done. It looks exactly like the painting. So a beautiful homage to the original painting. The original painting is now in the Pinacoteca. Somebody just mentioned that a child asked them if that was dead Santa, and I have to say I can't help but agree that that's a funny joke. If you can't laugh at your religion, what can you laugh at? Catholics get me. Y'all feel me, I think, if you're Catholic. It's kind of like being a part of a secret club. So up here we have the dome. And if you climb the dome, you get to walk up around here. And then there's an elevator and stairs that go to the very top. But again, we have that inscription that says, "Peter, you are the rock upon which my church is built." And from the floor down here to the dome up here is 2 football fields, just to give you another sense of scale. It's very difficult to understand the scale. All right, so last little stretch here. We're in the home stretch of our ramble around St. Peter's. It's wonderfully cool in here. It's very hot outside today. So we have more popes. This is so many different popes. Leo the 11th. As I mentioned, there is Queen Christina of Sweden here, and there's another woman too. And let's see if we can see her tomb. But mostly it's all popes. If you're here on a normal day, usually we'd be swimming in people. Here's another pope. I think this is one of the Innocents. And yes, that is the actual body of the pope. Oh man, I am enjoying this so much. I'm supposed to go home tomorrow, and I'm so tempted not to, because when will I ever see this city like this? It's really a joy to have such a peaceful moment here. So the last woman that I wanted to show you who's in here is up here. And this woman here, Maria Clementina, I believe her name was, she was the daughter, as I believe was the daughter of Jan Sobieski. And he was the man who liberated Poland and Eastern Europe from the onslaught of the Turks. So it's a little bit of a strange thing. But yeah, there are two women who are buried here. And then we have one last sweet little thing here. So this is one last little sweet thing. This is the fountain, the font, where they bless the babies. So this is where they do baptisms. So some people are allowed to come in here and have their baptisms, and this is where they do them. So of course it's a very large baptismal font. You could probably bless a whole 24 babies at once. But this is where they do the baptisms. All right. So for me, this is an incredible moment to be here to see this. I actually wasn't going to come because I have too many bad memories of coming in here and being hoarded and feeling like I couldn't breathe. So it's really kind of lovely to be here right now and enjoy the solitude and the contemplative sort of peace in here. I'd kind of given up on St. Peter's. I was bringing my guests at 7 o'clock in the morning because it was the only time of the day when I could see people actually enjoying the space and being Christian. Otherwise, it was sort of like somebody was giving away free chicken. Like everybody was, trying to rush around and get the best spot and using their selfie sticks. The attitude is very different right now. I don't see any selfie sticks. I don't see anybody behaving inappropriately. I don't know. Maybe something's going to change, you guys. Maybe this is the beginning of a better era. I don't know. I'm hopeful. So we'll see. Oh, and this is the Mascherina del Giorno. I bought this in the Campo dei Fiori, so this is one of my new acquisitions, and when I get home I'll be coming up with some new designs as well to celebrate Italy. While we can't travel, we can wear masks to remind us of our travels. So here we go. I'll take you guys outside, and then I'm going to move on my little Lime bike and go visit with my friend Susanna Perucchini, and we're going to do some explorations around the city of Rome. So there's going to be a whole lot of programming for you today. And then we'll see how it goes. If I don't know, I have to check and see how much it would be for me to change my ticket and come home a day later. If you guys would like me to keep on keeping on. I feel a little weird about going if staying makes sense. Another reminder that you can encourage me to stay and encourage me to keep producing programming by using my virtual tip jar. My email is sarahinitalia@yahoo.com. You can use PayPal, or you can support me on Patreon. I would really appreciate that very, very much. Oh, there we go. There's the Swiss Guards. The Swiss Guards over there in their garb with all the colors. They say that Michelangelo designed the colors and the design of the uniform. I did have a friend who was married to a Swiss Guard, but they have moved on. So ciao to my friend Joanne Bergerman. I miss your presence here, but I know you're having a good time in Switzerland. So if you were following Joanne Bergerman, the Swiss Guard's wife, who is a friend of mine, be sure to keep following her. She's got some new adventures in Switzerland, and she's going to eventually head back to Australia. And she's a great writer. She's actually going to be writing more, I think, in the future, I hope. And here is the Post, the Vatican Post, which is incredibly quiet. And again, we have Peter and Paul. And just a beautiful, quiet day here. Hey, can I ask you guys, before I go, Have you been able to hear me? I think you have, even though I was really whispering very quietly, because I have these new ear pods, which I think might have improved our experience today. So please comment if you were able to hear me okay. I think you are, because you seem to be commenting and responding, so. So there we go, voila. Oh, look at that, the line to the bathroom is even short. It's a miracle. Okay, va bene. Typically, when I'm done with the Vatican tour, my thing that I usually do is to go get my Big Mac. But I did get my Big Mac yesterday, so that's enough. Only one Big Mac for me while I'm in Italy, and I had it yesterday. So that is, as I said, my secret shame is how much I like to eat McDonald's in Italy. So instead, I'll probably go get myself a coffee and hop back on my bike. And I'm going to go ahead and visit with my other friend, and we'll be back with you guys all day this afternoon. And I'll try to think of something special for Patreon supporters. So I'll put a Zoom link up for Patreon. The Patreon supporters, the Zoom that I do for you guys that are private, I don't record those. Those are, if you catch them, you catch them. And if you'd like to be included in those, you can become a supporter, and I'll have a Zoom link up probably in about an hour. Let's try to meet around the same time that we did yesterday, which is 9 a.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Rome time. So maybe we'll have a little aperitivo together, okay? All right, that's all for now, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back with you in just probably about an hour, okay? Ciao, ciao.